Welcome to the Rams post-draft show presented by Rocket Mortgage. I'm Serena Morales and joined by my co-host, JB Long. We are once again coming to you live from the Rocket Mortgage Draft House here in Malibu, the Rams draft headquarters.
Yeah, Serena, tonight's going to be fun. There's still a pick on the board, actually, at the end of this third round, 103. We'll keep our eye on that. I'm sure you are as well. So we very well could have a new Ram within the next half hour or so. Plus, head coach Sean McVay will join us from just down the hall when he's done, and we'll also catch up with second-year wide receiver Van Jefferson. But first, time to break down the Rams' Day 2 moves with DeMarco Farr. And we always remind everyone this time of year that D. Farr went from undrafted out of Washington in '94 to become a Super Bowl champion in the NFL with the Rams. D. Farr, how are you?
I'm good, man. How things in Malibu? You know, did you go swimming yet?
We've had worse posts. The hot tub's still to come, though, DeMarco.
I like it. 18 defensive tackles drafted in 1994. I finished 5th in sacks when I retired.
There you go.
See, somebody was wrong, and it wasn't me.
Remind us again in 2022, will you? Because that never gets old. So far tonight, the Rams most recently have spun 88 here in the third round into 117 and 121 tomorrow in a trade with San Francisco you may have heard about. The Rams' first pick of the day was 57th overall, and that may sound familiar because it's the same spot where they selected Van Jefferson last year. This year, another receiver, Tutu Atwell, a Louisville wide receiver. And DeMarco, you know where we're going to start here because this was everyone's first reaction. 5'9", 155-ish when he's dressed and ready for a game. Can his explosiveness overcome his lack of NFL size?
I hope so. When I saw the size, I mean, I bet Tavon Austin said, wow, this guy's pretty small. But he's fast, and it's a Lux pick. I wasn't expecting receiver, especially because you just got Deshaun Jackson and you've got Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Van Jefferson, who we're going to talk to later. So I wasn't expecting receiver. So I'm sure at some point as we go along, I'm going to probably love this pick. But I think it gives you some indication that the offense may be expanding or maybe a little bit different than what we're used to with Matt Stafford at quarterback. So how do you get him on the field? Which guy do you sit down? If you play 11 personnel, it's not going to be Cooper Kupp. So where do you play a guy that's 5'9", 153? I cannot wait to find this out.
Yeah, D. Farr, I mean, where do you see him really being utilized initially? Then do you put him at special teams? He has a limited amount of work. They returned 4 punts for 84 yards at Louisville. Or do you see him, being added to the mix right away? I mean, he has speed. There's been talk about who's going to be that deep threat for Stafford. Ran a 4.3 240-yard dash at his pro day.
Yeah, he can blaze. I mean, he can go. I think I read that he's quicker than a hiccup. I mean, they don't say that about a lot of guys. So the guy can absolutely move. Look, I'll say this about Sean McVay and his offense. I don't think we've seen it all just yet. I think we've seen about as much as the Rams could run in the past. So this might expand. I don't think you're looking for a Tutu Atwell to come in and play someone else's role or pick up from someone else for someone else who's gone. I think this could be a completely different package, a completely different dynamic to the offense, especially, like we said, you have Matt Stafford, a guy that could throw it anywhere on the field, plus Sean McVay's mind. So speed kills. I know at various points in the season, JB, I know we all said, I wish we had somebody that can stretch the defense, that can get over the top, that can make those safeties back off the line of scrimmage a little bit more. Well, you got a guy that runs 4.3 now, so this will be interesting, but it just – who do you take off the field to put him on, or how do you get him on the field if that's the case?
Yeah, Sean McVay has said as much since January. Should we interpret this, DeMarco, as a vote of confidence in the returning offensive line and really the entire returning 2D? Like, is this a group that's already built to win a championship? And what I mean by that is the second round after this pick finished with 2 off-ball linebackers, an edge rusher, a couple of centers, all areas of perceived need. So by bypassing those quote-unquote needs to go for the fastest player in the draft, are the Rams saying we like what we have in-house at some of those other positions?
Well, I did read a tweet, and it made me laugh. Like, receiver, can he play center? Well, I mean, Brian Allen is going to be the guy, and there's going to be some competition for that role. So, before he got hurt, who knows? Who knows what he would have been in that offense? You're going to miss Austin Blythe. I think Austin Blythe, his strength was his versatility. I think he kind of settled that center spot, but that's not to say that you can't get better or at least equal to what you had. So maybe they think center is not a position of need, but I'm sure outside in, that's what a lot of people are talking about. Me, I'm an old defensive guy. Defense, I thought you were going linebacker. I thought you would find an edge guy. I still don't know who's the stopper, the starter outside of Leonard Floyd. I don't know. Who do you put out there? So, and I don't know how you feel about linebacker. I thought they played pretty well last season. That you had the number one defense or a top 3 defense against the run. So I thought they played pretty well. Maybe they feel comfortable with the guys they have, but with the people that were left on the board at the time, I thought maybe it was screaming to take a defensive player, especially since you took a receiver when you probably don't need one. This is a Lux pick.
All right, well, then DeMarco coming up next, they traded with the Niners for their 88th pick, so they get 117 and 121. So their next pick is at 103. Would you biasly go defensive line?
Well, I think so. For some depth, definitely. I mean, I think in the D-line especially, your starters are great. You're going to have to replace those rotational guys to keep Aaron Donald fresh if you can. Edge rusher, we talked about that. That Obo Okoronkwo is a guy that got hurt. Maybe if he didn't get hurt, he would have had a transcendent season, and we wouldn't be talking about this. But there is still a gaping hole. Like, who's it going to be at the opposite outside linebacker? And how is Raheem Morris going to run his defense? I mean, that's the other thing we don't know just yet. I have an idea. They're going to stay with the 4-3 base, but he's pretty hybrid to begin with. So some guys are going to be asked to do some things they haven't done in the past in this scheme. So we'll see how that goes. So I'll just say I'll err on the side of defense with the next 2 picks. I think the draft is loaded with defensive players anyway.
Can I float a preliminary theory, and we can run this past Sean McVay a little bit later when he joins us? I think the Rams clearly had a number one priority this offseason. That was to get faster. It was to get more explosive, whether that's trading for Matthew Stafford, someone who can throw vertically, whether it's bringing in Deshaun Jackson, and certainly whether it's drafting a receiver in the second round. Like, Sean McVay has said that part out loud, and he has very much put his thoughts into action throughout this offseason. So maybe their list of players who really fit that model was getting a bit thin there in the second round, and I can't help but notice that there were plenty of other teams in the division drafting receivers along with them, right? And maybe they felt really good about, say, picks right around 100. They now went from, 88 to 103, 117, 121, 141. Maybe there's a lot of players on their board in that range that they feel like they can address some of the other needs we talked about. We'll see whether or not that plays out the rest of tonight and tomorrow.
I'll say this, with the pass rushers in the NFC West, you better get rid of the ball quick. Bosa's coming back. Look at what Arizona's done. Good Lord. So if you're going to throw it, you better throw it fast.
I think that's a great point, right? If you're trying to get vertical, you're on the clock in more ways than one, and I get that observation. One other thought that I have about Tutu is you're in a position now where I can hear Van, so we're getting close there. Let me finish that thought real quick. I think you're in a position now where every receiver in your alignment, 2 or 3 receiver packages, is a threat to take the jet sweep, right? We know how good Robert Woods is as a runner. Tutu has that 4-3 speed. Cooper Kupp has been known to come out of that slot and take the handoff too. So I think they're going to threaten defenses horizontally pretty well.
Well, you know what? Go all the way back to when Tavon was here with Todd Gurley. And remember just the threat of Tavon taking that jet sweep would hold that backside in. And Todd Gurley absolutely murdered teams with that. So you take that to Cam Akers, who's getting nothing but better, and a zone blocking scheme to which everybody knows already up front. I can see that happen. This could be like who knows? I think there's a package there for a guy this fast. Speed kills in the NFL. It's just you never thought that the Rams, after getting Deshaun Jackson with the receivers they already have, that you wouldn't go receiver with pick 57. I think it caught everybody off guard. But like when you get a pack of underwear for Christmas, you may not be so excited when you get it, but a couple of months later, you're like, yeah. So, I think it's going to be one of those type picks.
Speak for yourself, DeMarco. New underwear is always my second round draft selection.
I love it.
But just one other theoretical thing, right, is if we know anything about the pattern the Rams have drafted with the last couple of years, they're not always selecting for the here and now, right? They're often drafting a year into the future. So, like, let's take the comparison on face value. If this is Deshaun Jackson Jr., well, Deshaun Jackson's here on a one-year contract, right, at the tail end of what you would consider his playing career. So maybe, this draft isn't necessarily going to play that role in 2021, but he can get his feet wet, he can learn, and he can be ready to become that guy a year later.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the other thing that we don't know. And I hope that Deshaun Jackson is Deshaun Jackson, because when he's Deshaun Jackson, you've got problems. I don't care who you are or what his numbers say or how whatever team he was playing with was doing at the time. When he lines up outside the numbers, every safety in the league has to pay attention to that. You have to honor that speed. If he gets beyond your cornerback, there's no catching that guy. So if he can remain that guy, sure, he'll be a deep threat. But he can also be a deep threat decoy that opens everything up underneath. You know what I mean? So, yeah, if he's going to be the next Deshaun Jackson, why not learn from Deshaun Jackson that's already here? I agree with you.
Here's the only reason I'm disappointed in the pick. I'm not disappointed in the person, but I'm anxious to see what changes on staff play out in terms of philosophy. And we don't really have a sense of that yet, right? Because wide receiver is pretty stable. But in terms of changes along the offensive line, changes in the secondaries, changes on defense in general, we don't yet have a glimpse here at the end of day 2 which direction the Rams might be going. That's a little bit modified or different.
Well, let me throw one in for the defense. Okay, how many defensive coordinators has Aaron Donald had? 4, 5? If this was a quarterback, we'd be feeling sorry for the guy. But, you're going to have to get to a new scheme and a new philosophy. But I was thinking of Tutu Atwell, and the room he's going into, it's competitive, but it's encouraging. They will help you along. These are good veterans. And then Coach Yarbs, their receivers coach. Good man, great coach. So how lucky is Van Jefferson? How lucky is Tutu Atwell that they get to come into this room and cut their teeth in the National Football League? I mean, for some guys, man, you can walk into the room and your career's done. I mean, you're never going to break in. They're never going to help you, and they're helping you look for the door. This is exactly different. This is one of these teams that everybody must contribute to win. I think that we, not me, is still present with this football team, and it's definitely present in that receiving room. So what a great opportunity for a young kid to come in and actually, like you said, learn from some pretty good veterans. Deshaun Jackson, I expect to assimilate well in this room and really bring what he has to the field every single practice and every single game day.
He's DeMarco Farr and JB Long. Serena, you hearing us okay now? You back in?
I think so. I think I'm back at speed. Hey, D. Farr, just going into, the later years in your career per se, it was interesting to hear Deshaun Jackson talk to the media when he came to the Rams of sort of, this is the perfect time for me to join this team. I'm at the right place in my life. I'm not young anymore. People maybe give certain feedback that he's had some injuries, but he feels really comfortable mentally speaking at where he is joining the Rams. Do you kind of feel good about that? What the he's sort of saying?
This is so funny, Serena. The Deshaun Jackson that was in Philly the first time, I'd love to have that guy's talent. I would. I would love to have that player on the roster. I'm not sure if I would like to have that guy, that youth in Los Angeles where he's from at that time, that 20-year-old kid. I'm glad that he's learned. He's been places. He gets it now. He has to go home at night. So I agree with him. This is the perfect time for him to come back to Los Angeles. Now the glitz and glamour, it's done, been there, done that. It's a little bit different. I'm after more rings. I'm after championships. I'm after legacy. So he's in a whole different place as an athlete. There's more behind than in front. That changes a guy. So I agree. I think this is the perfect time for Deshaun Jackson to come back to Los Angeles, a place he's familiar with. I think he's gotten it all out of his system off the field.
All right, let's get a little big picture here because we are through pick 100, which means Rams are coming up. In fact, I believe they are on the clock. Looks like they're going to make this pick at 103 momentarily. So they took Tutu Atwell at 57. They turned their third-round pick at 88 into a couple of fourth-rounders, 117, 121, to go with 141. So no fifth-rounder, but now a nice handful to start tomorrow's Saturday. and then 103 now coming up. So that's where the Rams are currently. DeMarco, any feelings about trading with arch rival San Francisco to get where you want to be on the board?
Not at all. We can be friendly now. Absolutely. And the pick I get from you is going to be the one that kicks your butt. That's the way I'd be thinking it. So, if you can split one pick into two, especially in the fourth round, the first thing I'm thinking, that screams defensive line, doesn't it? This is where, if you have 2 fourth-rounders, this is where you take a defensive lineman. And I bet you can get a pretty good one, a moldable piece of clay that you can hand to Coach Henderson and say, make this guy good. Plant him behind Aaron Donald and watch that guy work. So, yeah, absolutely. I don't mind trading with the enemy at all because come game day, it's what it is. We can be nice now, but come Sunday, it's a little bit different.
Well, if last night taught me anything with Philadelphia and Dallas getting together to work their way around New York and back-to-back NFC East selections, then I think this is perfectly acceptable.
Absolutely. All's fair in love and war. No doubt, especially football. Yeah, and you know what? San Francisco is going to be scary. They really are. I think this Trey Lance kid is going to wind up playing sooner than later. Don't you guys?
I mean, they're keeping Garoppolo right now, but who knows? I assume he'd fight for that spot during training camp.
No doubt. And JB, you texted me about Garoppolo. The Rams haven't beat Garoppolo. I know that was tongue in cheek because it wasn't really Garoppolo that beat him. He was just the winning quarterback. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's not like Garoppolo played well, but I mean, it wasn't. I would say Deebo Samuel's beat him a few times. So, but I would say this Trey Lance kid at some point with that offense and his ability, you're going to be going from Kyler Murray to that kid back to Russell Wilson in Seattle. So pass rushers, take your Pedialyte. This is going to be a tough run if this guy actually winds up as the starter.
All right, so the pick is in. After a run of cornerbacks with Dallas taking Wright from Oregon State, Molden going from Washington to Tennessee, and Melifonwu from Syracuse to Detroit, then San Francisco was at 102, and the Rams at 103 get Ernest Jones, inside linebacker from South Carolina. So, DeMarco, you get some of that stuff after all.
Hard hat. Yes, I love South Carolina linebackers. Absolutely. Yes. Some toughness, a guy that can rattle some teeth. I love the side-to-side guys. I love the Corey Littletons. I did. The Alec Ogletrees when he was here. But at some point in the game, it's going to be straight downhill. And you've got to be able to get off a block, come through, shock a guard, get off the block, and make a tackle on a running back for a loss or a no gain to get off the field, to win the game or at least win the quarter, put you in a position to win games. So, I don't mind toughness. I don't mind more toughness on defense, and I don't care who you have. So I think this could turn out to be a pretty good pick as well. But like I said, Raheem Morris's defense, I cannot wait to see it live with the chess pieces moving so I can see how he's going to utilize certain people in this scheme. Yeah. Terrell Lewis is a guy. If he actually stayed healthy and could get more reps, this would be a great pick. This would really round out your defense if that's the case. So right now, I think you've got some depth. I think you've got some competition, but you still have some question marks on the outside that need to be answered before you can say I am satisfied or comfortable with the defensive side of the football roster-wise.
All right, DeMarco, just you and me for a moment. As we've lost Serena, we're still efforting Van Jefferson. I hear he had a pretty good event tonight. He was all dressed up and ready for the show. He might be going more casual before he joins us. We're looking for him. We're looking for Sean McVay as they wrap up day 2 of the NFL draft. As for Ernest Jones, take a look at his profile, 6'2", 230 out of South Carolina. Still looking for a final answer maybe inside at middle linebacker. They patrolled through some guys in the last couple of years there at that position, and now a third defensive coordinator too.
You know what? I bet Troy Reader just jumped out of bed and started doing push-ups. You know what I mean?
I like it.
You know what I mean? So they still don't trust me. After what I did last year, they still want to draft guys. But look, that's the way it goes in the National Football League. I mean, you can always get better and you can always add depth. Thank God this is not a smash mouth division. With the exception of San Francisco, it's pretty much spread them out, throw, or spread them out and run. So it's a little bit different. But at some point, various points in games, you've got to shot guys and get off the field, get off the block, make tackles. So the more guys I can add to the mix, the more competition I can add to those spots, then so be it. It's not like quarterback, middle linebacker. I would draft one every year if I could, because it's just like fullback. Fullbacks are great until they're not. You know what I mean? When a fullback's is healthy and young and he's blowing guys off the football, he's awesome. But at some point these guys get dinged, they slow down, and they become position blockers. Same with linebackers, man. I mean, what is, to me, there is no use for a linebacker that can't be a thumper at some point during the game. You don't have to be a thumper 100% of the time. You could be a cover guy, but at some point you're going to have to be a thumper and get in there and make a play. This is still football, and this is football at the highest level. They still run it. These running backs can break tackles, and at some point you're going to have to make a stop for no gain to get off the field.
All right, so if they check that box in terms of a positional need, we turn our attention to tomorrow and a handful of picks in the fourth round, starting with 117, courtesy of the trade with San Francisco. Does your attention shift to the trenches and specifically the offensive line, maybe drafting for the future of that front five?
I'm trying to – okay, so you got Ashawn. You've got Aaron. I should have started with Aaron. Who else you have in the middle? You've got Greg Gaines and you've got Sebastian Joseph. Okay, so that's 4. You're going to need a few more. You're going to need a few more bodies, or at least one more to compete to round out that roster, to round out that depth there. And like you said, the edge guys, I think you need to bring in people that will give you a look. I would love it if, like I said, if Lewis were healthy. I would love it if Obo could stay healthy. But there were question marks and there were issues last season, so this is the NFL. If you can't stay healthy, they'll have to get another guy. So maybe that starts tomorrow with edge rushers. I would be looking outside at this point. But like I said, if you have 2 picks in the fourth round, that just screams defensive line to me.
You're saying looking outside, looking for pass rush?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, I think Obo brings a certain explosion to the pass rush. I mean, he's got straight line speed like you wouldn't believe, and he's one of the strongest Rams on the roster. I think when Lewis gets going, I think he might be like Floyd, an all-around guy that could rush, that could drop, that could actually peel off and cover people and be aggressive versus the run. That would be the perfect world for me if you would start Lewis, Floyd, and then bring Obo in a sub package. You know what I mean? But those guys have to stay healthy. I remember a conversation I had with Andrew Whitworth. This was going all the way back when Brian Allen and Joseph Noteboom were the starters. They were going to be young starters, and athletically, we knew they could do it. And he said something to me like, "Yeah, they can get it. They're physically gifted, and they get it mentally. I just hope they can last the season." And sure enough, they both were out. They got hurt. So same thing at outside linebacker. They've got all the talent in the world, but you have to remain on the field so you can be available for every single pass rush. So until that is solidified, until I have complete trust, then I wouldn't be shocked if I saw edge rushers coming off the board soon.
All right, so you're with us for our post-draft coverage. We're at the Draft House in Malibu, courtesy of Rocket Mortgage. Marco Farr, JB Long, Serena Morales is with us as well. We're still trying to get Van Jefferson on the line, and we're looking forward to wrapping up the night with Sean McVay. Let's take a step back and talk some quarterback to Marco, because a couple of opponents on the Rams' schedule, Jacksonville, Chicago, San Francisco, drafted them. There's another prominent one in Green Bay that you may have spent part of your day yesterday discussing and thinking over. As you look at the complexion of the 2021 schedule and the new quarterbacks on the slate, what's your reaction?
Well, thank goodness that San Francisco deal fell apart with Aaron Rodgers. Can you imagine if that happened? Can you imagine if Aaron Rodgers was up in San Francisco? What would this division be like had he actually landed there? Oh, my goodness. It would be a shootout. It would be must-see TV every week. But, I was always a Trevor Lawrence fan. I think he's going to be just fine down there in Jacksonville. Maybe he's the guy that can kind of resurrect that franchise down there. It's going to be a tough road to hoe, but, I think the guy's uber talented. And so that'll be fun to watch there. I think Justin Fields has a lot to prove. I think he has a chip on his shoulder, kind of like Lamar Jackson. So, and I think that we said when he was drafted, Lamar Jackson, when he was drafted at the end of the first round, I said, watch out, man. This guy could wind up being better than all of them because of his ability. So Fields has that same sort of ability, that playmaking ability. So, yeah, it's interesting. Some teams are getting healthy at quarterback, and it seems like, Tom Brady's getting up there. Drew Brees is done. Phillip Rivers is done, and there's a new breed coming in. And at some point, it's going to be Matt Stafford as the elder statesman against all these young cats. So this is going to be a lot of fun down the road.
You also got Davis Mills going to Houston tonight, and that was a notable quarterback selection as well. If I gave them to you, Jacksonville, Chicago, San Francisco, all kind of early on the Rams' schedule, which rookie quarterback would you expect to see, and in what order? Do you know what I mean? Like, who's locked into their starting job the soonest?
Well, you know what?
Lawrence, Field, Lance, would that make sense?
Lance, no. I think Garoppolo's going to go there. I mean, early. So, but I think at some point with Garoppolo's history, I think he's going to give way to this kid. But I think you're definitely going to see Lawrence down in Jacksonville. Why wait? Why wait with him? Just go ahead and get him ready now. And I heard something. He's already had the playbook for a month, so they'll be able to hit the ground running. I'm just curious as to what the offense they're going to run. What is Urban Meyer going to do? Is he going to try Steve Spurrier and really run that college offense and think it's going to work at this level? But we'll see. But, yeah, at some point, I think you're going to wind up seeing all these young guys play sooner than later.
How about a thought on Arizona? I feel like they're kind of flying under the radar a little bit in our draft discussion, even though they had a big offseason to this point. Zaven Collins, another linebacker, added to their just arsenal at that position group. And then they go receiver on day 2 with Rondell Moore out of Purdue. I think they've got a case to have one of the best receiving cores now in the entire NFL, especially depending on what Larry Fitzgerald does. What's your take in terms of the threat level of the Arizona Cardinals coming back for 2021?
I don't know how you fail with that roster. That's just being honest. If they do, I blame Kyler Murray, I guess. If they don't make the playoffs next season, if they're not a player, if they're not giving everybody in this division fits every single week, then, somebody's got to be the problem, because I like what they've done, especially on defense. When Chandler Jones comes back, right, that's a guy you can't block one-on-one. And then you're going to pair him with the other wrecking machine, the Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald, that guy. That defense has a chance to really have some bite, really be able to knock some quarterbacks down. So that's going to be pretty scary. If Kyler Murray actually takes a step forward, and the game slows down for him, you've got some serious issues. This will no longer be an also-ran in this division. So Sean McVay hasn't lost to the Arizona Cardinals yet, but I think they're taking a step closer to kind of righting that wrong in Arizona.
Seattle came into this draft with only 3 picks. They used their first one today on a receiver as well, Dwayne Eskridge out of Western Michigan. As for San Francisco, behind Lance, they ended up taking a guard, Aaron Banks from Notre Dame, Trey Sermon from Ohio State, a running back with the Rams pick they traded for, and now a corner, Ambry Thomas from Michigan, to round out their day 2. All right, I'm going to take one more shot with Serena here. Serena, I feel bad like we're excluding you or something. We're not. We very much want to include you. How's your Wi-Fi at the moment?
It's getting better, so I can only hope that we hang in there.
Which portion of the draft house did you migrate to?
I'm hiding in another room. It's a big house, thankfully. There's room for me.
Wow. Yeah.
Just to update our audience, that's probably kind of wrapping up this Friday night, poking around after the draft, what's going on over here on the Rams post-draft show. We're presented by Rocket Mortgage. We're out in Malibu, Serena, DeMarco, JB. And we're still hanging on for Van Jefferson, who the Rams selected in the second round of last draft. Had a great rookie season and may have saved his best for last in the playoff game in Green Bay. And hoping to finish our night with Sean McVay's thoughts on Tutu Atwell and Ernest Jones, a receiver and an off-ball linebacker who joined the Rams roster here tonight. Serena, take it away. What have you been thinking about? Go ahead, DeMarco.
I was going to say, I mean, it's 57. It's your first pick. Play, right? You don't draft a guy that high to sit. So which guy do you put on the bench? And it's funny that Van Jefferson's coming on with us because he'll be first in line. He's the wounded fawn on the Serengeti. You're not going to catch Cup. You're not going to catch Woods as a young guy. So
But
the guy that he's going to be running down first, like Van Jefferson did Josh Reynolds, Van Jefferson. Say again?
Well, what about Deshaun Jackson? I mean, as an older NFL player, wiser, but however, Van has maybe the legs on him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, so which receiver are you taking off the field to put your first pick of 2021 on the field? Or do you plan to play more than 3 receivers in the game? Which wouldn't be unheard of with Matt Stafford throwing the football. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so that's the question. I would love to have these answers, or, where do you put them? How do you see them? I mean, we're not going to get much strategy out of these guys, but it's just funny that Van Jefferson's coming up when they just drafted a receiver. That's interesting.
Let's power through a couple of our fan questions that have come in tonight as we await Van's arrival. And start with JT just to have a chuckle at his question. Have I stayed up until 4 a.m. UK time for another trade back out of the 3rd round? No, you didn't, JT. Thank you for staying up. Hope your weekend's going well there in the UK. We love our UK fan base. Cannot wait to get back to London. But Ernest Jones at inside linebacker with the selection at 103. Josh G, why do Sean McVay and Les Snead do this to us? I think he means trading down. Is it quantity over quality at this point? And this is where I might revisit the thought about how strong they felt like their board was in terms of the ability to address some needs and layer in some depth for this year and for the future, right around that 100 range. And so when they turn 88 into 117, 121 to go with 141 in the 4th round tomorrow, not having a 5th round pick, I'm not going to say it's quantity over quality, but DeMarco, you definitely want to take a few more bites of that apple right in that sweet spot.
Well, I think you're doing exactly what you have to do when you're paying guys like Aaron and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, you're going to have to get creative in the draft. You're going to have to find ways to get more bodies in and then coach them up. So it's a sound philosophy, and I think they've been doing a pretty good job of it. But at some point, like you said, I mean, and Raheem Morris has said, your defense is very talented, especially at the top. So everyone else that fills in around Jalen Ramsey, that fills in around Aaron Donald, that fills in around Floyd, these guys are going to have to sometimes come right from college, be coached up, be plugged in, and let's go. Same for the offense. The last thing you want, and I hate even to bring this up, and I shouldn't even say it, but just think of how different that Super Bowl would have been had Cooper Kupp been healthy. Right? So the last thing you want is to lose one person in your offense and everything. So the more weapons you have with how you're trying to attack, then so be it. So I guess I'm trying to justify that receiver.
Well, DeMarco, that's a good point. And especially if you're a Cooper Kupp or a Robert Woods, when you experienced the Rams drafting the next sort of group or D-line, what were your thoughts? Like, okay, how can I add to the mix? Am I going to mentor this guy? What are some thoughts that you would have maybe in that position?
Well, it's weird, Serena. It's different for me. I'm an undrafted rookie free agent. So every time they drafted a guy, I panicked. They're coming to get me. But, I mean, no, I think it's more with this offense and with this group, with Sean McVay and the way he coaches it, and the culture of this offense is I don't think there's any insecurity here. I think they're bringing in a guy that can help the offense get better. They're bringing in more speed that will open things up for someone else. I think that's been their mentality. That is their mentality. So it's just how do you get that many guys on the field at one point? That's what we don't know. I'm sure there's going to be a plan, and we're going to find that out. But I don't think there's any animosity towards anybody being drafted in the receiver room if they bring in another one. I think it's going to be one of the more welcoming environments on this football team and probably in football.
Fresh legs, DeMarco. Fresh legs, right?
I wish. I haven't had fresh legs in 20 years. I don't even know what fresh legs feel like, man. Good Lord. You should see me stand up. I wish I had fresh legs. Oh, my gosh. Some guys don't get to have fresh legs. Like Aaron Donald? No. Not with your paycheck. Yeah. You
Well,
got
you know,
Just to circle back on one point you made there about the Super Bowl, I could go the rest of Cooper Kupp's career without ever finishing a season saying, I wonder what would have happened if Cooper Kupp had been able to play in this postseason game. Can we make sure that never happens again, please?
I'm with you. But that's the last thing you want, to where if you lose one guy in the receiving corps and everything takes a nosedive, or you've got to switch, you've got to change out. Now you got to start running the football when you're really not set up to do so because you lost one guy. So it seems like a luxury pick, but if you can keep the machine rolling for 16, 17 weeks, it's all to the good if you don't have to change much, especially when it starts to turn cold outside.
Speaking of fresh legs, it is now time to welcome in one of the Rams' second-round picks.
Where is Van?
We've got him right here. Yep. Oh, I think we lost him again. We're having some technical difficulties. We're going to find another room with Wi-Fi. We should hopefully get Van Jefferson shortly. In the meantime,
he's
what is it, DeMarco?
Yeah, I was just thinking about Van. I thought, coming out of camp, I thought we would see him more during the season, and I was surprised that we saw more of Josh Reynolds. I was happy for Josh, but that's just the way that's the way football go. But you definitely saw the talent. You saw some things you liked out of Van, and you saw some his playmaking ability and what he would bring to this offense. Now think about the same Van Jefferson route running, the same things you saw last season with Matt Stafford last year. Think about that. Some of those off-target throws all of a sudden become on target or on the money and on time. Think about how good that offense would have been with that last year. So if you add more talent with, dare I say, a better quarterback, man, wow, this offense has a chance to really take off.
Hopefully we can get him in. He did finish his rookie season.
Rewatching the offense from last year, wow. JB, we were being awfully nice.
All right, let's give this a go. Van, I'm going to take a shot in the dark here. Trust the technology. Can you hear us, Van Jefferson?
Man, can you hear us, Van?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, great. I heard you had a fancy event tonight. How did it go? All right, Serena, you try.
It's trying to work.
Hey, Van, can you hear us okay? Do you have a button down?
I can hear you.
Okay, so are you dressed today?
I was in a wedding.
You didn't dress up for the draft again? Whose wedding? Who are you celebrating?
Oh, it's my best friend is getting married tomorrow, so I'm in the wedding. So
okay, all right. So
yes, ma'am.
You're dressed up for the occasion. Glad you could join us for our post-draft show, day 2. Van, you're a year removed from your draft night where I think you were wearing a suit, maybe not. Take us back and describe what that moment was like for you and your family.
That moment was great. Just spending the time with my family and hearing my name called, it was a dream come true. So just seeing all these guys getting their name called, it's a blessing. And I know they're enjoying it with their families, and I'm happy for them.
Van, JB Long here. I'll give this a shot. With Josh Reynolds off to Tennessee, with Deshaun Jackson arriving in Los Angeles, now Tutu Atwell drafted into your position group. In the context of all those personnel changes, what are your expectations for yourself going into year 2?
My expectation is just to be a team player, just go out there and just do the best I can. When I get an opportunity, just maximizing my opportunities. Whenever I get the opportunity, just be the best I can. win with technique, and, just play hard and let everything, handle itself. God already made the story, so I'm just gonna follow His plan, and everything will be all right.
Maximizing your opportunity, you've got. Go ahead, DeMarco.
In your career, I mean, you're going to become the veteran someday. You're going to become the graybeard in the room if you're lucky. But what have you gleaned, or what pieces of Cooper Kupp's game and Robert Woods' game, and even Josh Reynolds, a guy that you were just with, what pieces of their game have you incorporated into yours?
Just the way they just go about every day. All those guys are hard workers. Even learning from Josh, he was a great teammate. He taught me a lot of things. When I came in, he was nothing but helpful to me. Taught me everything, even with the offense and stuff like that. But just the way those guys go about taking care of their bodies and how hard they work in practice, effort every play, and that's what Coach Yarbs teach. And that's going hard every play so that next man outwork you. And those guys do a great job of that. And I'm still learning from them, and they keep teaching me. So I'm just being a stewardess and just learning from them every day. And hopefully I can get to the position where those guys are right now.
Van, I know you've been working out this offseason with your buddy John Wolford a ton, but now the Rams have Matthew Stafford as your QB1. Would love to get your thoughts on what you love about his game, how excited you are to play with this veteran quarterback, and how you think you're going to fit in with this offense now.
I'm excited to have Matthew Stafford. He's a great quarterback. If you just go back and look at his film from Detroit, he made some great plays, and he's an awesome quarterback. He didn't go, first for no reason, and I think our whole team is excited to have him on the squad. He's a great leader. He's a great competitor. He's definitely going to expect a lot out of us, and, we just want to play hard from him. And, he was with my dad when he was in Detroit, so, it's crazy now that I'm actually playing with him. So I just remember running around the facility and seeing him. Now I'm actually get to play with him, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, your dad was the receiver coach for Stafford's first 4 seasons in Detroit. Like, what are the chances that you have a Matthew Stafford autograph something or other?
I don't think I have a Matthew Stafford autograph, but I definitely got to see a lot of his plays and see him at the facility and stuff like that. But it's just exciting to play with him. I'm ready to get to it.
It would have been early in your high school career, right? I mean, I think you'll show up and you can make him feel pretty old on your first day at the facility in Thousand Oaks. See if he remembers you.
I hope not. Yeah, but I'm just excited to meet him, though. I know he's a great guy, and a lot of people speak highly of him, and I'm just excited to work with him.
Van, we joked about. Sorry, DeMarco, go for it.
As a team, I mean, how do you guys feel about how last season ended, and how has that propelled you through the offseason so far?
I think we're just taking it just one day at a time. As a team, we have a good plan and going on through off-season programs, and we're doing a great job just taking it step by step. And we're all just hungry. Of course, we weren't satisfied with the way it ended last year, but you just got to put your best foot forward and just keep working, man, and just put your head down and just learn from the mistakes that happened last year. And and the results to take care of themselves. And I think we're a hungry group, and we're ready to go out there and play. And we're just gonna keep learning, just taking it one day at a time.
Van, I think I joked about this with you this offseason, but your dad, now with the Arizona Cardinals as the wide receivers coach, please tell me how you're preparing to handle this.
I mean, getting to see my dad twice a year now is gonna be cool. I'm definitely gonna talk a little trash to him. Definitely gonna get under the skin a little bit, but he'll be all right. But just going against my dad is gonna be fun. A lot of competition. Me and my dad love to compete against each other, so I'm excited I get to play against him twice. But at the same time, I'll be trying to beat him. But it's cool though.
Ben, I don't have to ask you to imagine what it's like to be in Tutu Atwell's shoes tonight. But as he arrives for his first opportunity with the Rams as a rookie, What's one thing you know now that you wish you had known 12 months ago joining the NFL?
I would say that it's a long season. It's a long season. I think that you gotta really take care of your body. I think coming into the league, I really wasn't aware of that, especially in college. I didn't in college. You just played, just a little amount of games, and so like it was times where I wouldn't go in and get treatment. I would just get prepared for practice next week. But it's so important to take care of your body, and that's some of the things I learned from Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Those guys have taught me a lot of ways to take care of your bodies, and even looking at some of the older guys like Aaron Donald, the way he goes about every day and what he does to take care of his body, it's very important. But I know Tutu is excited. I know he's having a great family. I'm happy that he gets to join the squad, and I hope he enjoys it today. Man, there's nothing like it, and I hope he has a great time, and I can't wait to meet him and get to work with him.
We're excited.
Oh, man, don't be missing treatment now. Come on now. Don't be making the trainers chase you.
Van, I appreciate your time and joining us. Thank you for always recommending the best Netflix, Hulu, all of those shows off season. Snowfall's number one. But
yes,
thank
ma'am,
you
it is.
Time to join us for day 2 of the NFL draft. I know you've been training so hard this off season, so we're really excited to see you back in action this season, Van. Appreciate your time.
Hey.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
See you, Van.
Give me one.
Hope you get to make a good speech tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. The Rams' second of 3 picks was 88 overall. They traded that to San Francisco for 2 fourth-round picks tomorrow at 117 and 121. So we're adding 2 additional fourth-round picks. The Rams also have 141 tomorrow in the 4th round. DeMarco, how are we feeling so far?
Quick slant. That's my nickname. My nickname for him is Quick Slant.
For Van, not for Tutu, right? Serena, just looking at those picks you mentioned for tomorrow, I have them as the 16th pick of the final day of the draft, the 36th as well. So missing one. What's the other one?
I know. Did I do some math correctly? We're here.
No, I think you were on it.
Okay. Yeah. 117, 121, 141, 209, 252.
All right. So it should be a busy day 3, and the Rams do a little bit better than replacing that 5th-round pick that they did not have coming in to this full complement. They actually move it up to the 4th round, dropping out of the 3rd from 88 here today, as Les Snead, I think, had it in his mind that he wanted to turn one of today's 2 picks into multiple picks to kind of round out the 2021 draft class.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Rams have done well in the past with some of their deep round picks. Look at Jordan Fuller just last season at 199, Sebastian Joseph Day out of Rutgers at 195. So definitely feel maybe some ease that, with all of these deeper round picks, they're sitting comfortable, especially in a unique year like with COVID. Their legs should be a little rested, right?
Well, Serena, actually dropping some of those names, you made me think of something else that we don't often think about this time of year, but it's Van's class, right? It's them coming back for a second professional season, and after all the challenges that last year brought, especially for rookies. I mean, I can't wait to see not just what Van's capable of, but certainly Cam Akers, Terrell Lewis could be stepping into a bigger role. Terrell Burgess, wishing him well as his rehab continues, seems to be in good spirits. Bryson Hopkins is basically coming off a redshirt year as a tight end. Certainly his number is going to be called in the season ahead. Fuller, absolutely. So, even Tremaine Ankrum, I think, probably the last pick of last year's class at 250 still provides some value and might have some opportunity ahead of him. So I think there's a lot of reason for optimism coming off of last year's group And if I've learned anything, kind of being with this franchise now for a handful of years, it's that year 1 to 2 leap that really puts them on the field in contributing roles.
Yeah, especially Tremaine Ingram. We watched him a ton during training camp and during the season just from afar, working with a guy like Whitworth, who really takes the time to work with some of these, younger players and sets them up for success. So, yeah, I've seen that with my own eyes. And, you got to feel good with a guy like that coming out of Clemson.
Well, I think we've stalled as long as we can. Sean McVay is still handling his post-draft obligations with our local media. We'll call it a night here from the Rams Draft House, presented by Rocket Mortgage in Malibu, Serena. Sorry for the Wi-Fi issues, but glad you were able to join us before the night was through.
For sure. Thank you, DeMarco. Stay young, my friend. Keep those legs fresh. And we will see you all here tomorrow. Again, thanks for watching the Rocket Mortgage Draft House. Hey, we're going to be poolside by the end of this whole thing, right?
One way or another.